They called them legends, the Ravagers, colossal living warships that devour worlds. After 10,000 years of slumber, their organic armor awakened, shaking the Lightbringer civilization to its core. Outnumbered and defenseless, a cry for help echoed through the stars. In response, humanity's finest fleet, 50 warships and elite marines, ripped through hyperspace, lasers blazing and bioradiation crackling, to face the ultimate predator. This is the moment two civilizations collide in a desperate battle for survival. Welcome to the defining showdown of our galaxy. The Crystal Hall awakens. A ghostly blue light emanated from the colossal crystal pillars that rose throughout the Great Hall, casting the forms of more than 20 members of the Light Council into shifting silhouettes. The walls and ceiling were hewn from single, massive quartz blocks, reflecting dancing streaks of light across the vast space. At the very center, upon a dais one step higher than the floor, stood High Shepherd Harper in solemn stillness, gaunt, towering frame weighed down by countless burdens. In his left hand he gripped the commanding crystal staff. His right trembled slightly as he monitored the energy readings on the holographic display before him. The numbers blinked in a crimson glyph, tightening the chamber's solemn air into something almost suffocating. "Impossible. It simply can't be," Harper whispered, his voice echoing beneath the vaulted crystal dome. His words reverberated through the hushed hall, and the azure lights flickered overhead as if trembling in response. Through the transparent pillars, one could almost see the pulsing lifelines within his body, like the beats of a great cosmic heart. At that moment, Elena Cruz, Deputy Space Marshal, stood quietly among the rows of seats below the dais, observing everything in silence. She wore finely wrought battle armor whose metallic sheen glimmered in the pale blue glow. Beneath her breathing mask, her eyes flicked over the data, searching for insight. When Harper's fingers quivered, she noticed odd veils of light moving over the crystalline Florentian sigils, awakening, tracing a vortex of gathering darkness. She tilted her head, wondering if this signal was more than a mere energy fluctuation. The council delegates closed ranks around Harper and Cruz, forming a tight circle. Counselor Serafina, renowned for her unbreakable loyalty, stepped back for a heartbeat, hesitation flickering across her features. She bent slightly to whisper into her aide's ear, "Are we certain this isn't a death warrant?" The aide's lip curled in a half smile, but Seraphine's throat tightened with doubt. Hovering before them was the magnified image of a massive energy field cast upon the outer rim of the Light Council's territory. A crimson coordinate marker hovered on the holographic star chart, suspended in mid-air. Each signal imprint felt like a dagger to the mind, a stark reminder that their peaceful civilization had never known the horrors of war. High Shepherd Harper fought to steady his breathing. He set his crystal staff on the dais and, voice firm, spoke the command. "Deploy reconnaissance ships immediately. Elena, dispatch 2 probe vessels to the border. I want visual confirmation." Without hesitation, Cruz bowed crisply, lips set in a hard line, then vanished through the crystalline door behind the platform. Silence reigned for a few seconds, broken only by the soft click of crystal boots on the polished floor. Counselor Seraphine furrowed her brow and stepped toward the control console. "High Shepherd," she murmured, "might we consider evacuating civilians first?" Her tone was low, as though she feared unseen ears. Harper's shadow darkened for a moment, but he waved the suggestion away. "No, Seraphine, this is not the time for second-guessing. If we hesitate, everything ends." A faint tremor ran through the hall. Tiny fractures appeared in one of the crystal pillars, glowing eerily for an instant before extinguishing like a dying ember. Cruz reappeared, her breath ragged. "Scout ships report back not only energy patterns, there's a biological code embedded within." The air grew thick. Seraphine's aide stumbled backward, and the counselor herself stared at Harper as if she'd glimpsed a terrible truth. Harper cleared his throat, voice dropping to a grave whisper. "What we face is not a mindless foe. They are creatures born of flesh and hunger." He turned to the assembled delegates, eyes blazing with resolve. We once believed the legends to be mere bedtime tales, but now we stand before an ancient conspiracy come alive. I hereby order every transmitter engaged at maximum output. Send our call for allies into the galaxy. The Light Council needs aid to survive. In that instant, 6 massive emitters embedded around the hall roared to life. Though soundless to human ears, every member felt the quantum tremor resonate through their bones. A cry went out across the void. The Light Council stands on the brink of annihilation. Hear us and come to our aid. The azure glow dimmed abruptly, leaving only a furious streak of blood-red light. In the stillness that followed, 2 ancestral forces' own desperate plea, one looming menace waited for the answer that would shape a destiny spanning millennia. Bairn Denoi. The distress signal. When the 6 quantum transmitters thundered to life in unison, the Light Council's distress call swept across the void with unprecedented speed. Aboard the scout ship Probe 9, Deputy Space Marshal Elena Cruz awaited a response via the ship's quantum communication array. She closed her eyes, attuned to the rhythmic pulses flashing across her console. At first, the return signal was nothing more than garbled clicks, but Cruz, with her practiced ear, discerned a hidden pattern, a complex biological sequence, like the heartbeat of a colossal organism, steady, powerful, and ominously insistent. Without hesitation, Cruz radioed the Great Hall. "Hi, Shepherd Harper. The distress beacon has matched an unrecorded biological signature. This is no mere plea for help, it's a challenge." The council fell silent. Harper's pale face hardened as he whispered, "They want us to come, or to die." All eyes turned to the holographic display, where the crimson waveform pulsed in time with that alien heartbeat. Meanwhile, Counselor Seraphine slipped into the auxiliary control chamber, her mind racing with suspicion. She suspected the signal could be a trap to lure the Council's warships into annihilation. She hovered over the master uplink, fingers poised to recall Probe 7, only to discover the transmit override locked her out entirely. Panic flared behind her steadfast mask, but she remained silent, wondering if any of her peers harbored similar misgivings. Light years away, at Watchdog Station 7 orbiting Earth, Lieutenant Marcus Blake had just removed the stylus from his data slate when the same crystalline imagery and sanguine energy pulse appeared on his monitors. He cross-referenced Cruz's report and called out through his comm module, "This is not a natural cosmic echo, it's a distress call and perhaps a curse." The control room erupted as Marcus's warning raced up the chain of command. Deep beneath the Rockies, Admiral John Jack Carter and General Alexis Reed jolted awake to the emergency alert. Carter pored over the incoming data. Reed stared at the fleet disposition map. "Jack," she sighed, "we've trained only for peacekeeping. If this is genuine, our actions will shape the fate of billions." Carter nodded grimly, tracing the flickering crystal and red light on his display. "We cannot stand by." The Earth Defense Alliance convened its second emergency session. Projected on the main holoscreen were the alien coordinates, accompanied by Watchdog 7's dire advisory. "Unknown signal closing on our solar system." General Reed advocated immediate reconnaissance. "Deploy a high-speed Vanguard scout, first verify before committing the main fleet." Carter weighed the risks. Vanguard ships are fast but lightly armed. If they're ambushed, they won't hold out long. Back on the Crystal World, High Shepherd Harper summoned Elena Cruz and Counselor Seraphine to the dais. His voice resonated through the azure-lit chamber. "We stand at a watershed moment. This signal is not only a call for aid but proof that the ancient trial has awakened. Elena, dispatch our strongest probe vessels to investigate. Seraphine, secure all comm channel vulnerabilities must remain hidden." Seraphine bowed, though doubt still gnawed at her resolve. Before Cruz departed, she covertly encoded a secret back-channel message to the Council. "If this proves a trap, send withdrawal orders immediately." But the return feed remained ominously silent. One by one, Probe 9, Progue 11 and Progue 13 streaked into the unknown. Beyond their reinforced viewports drifted nebulae of pale quartz, floating like suspended shards in the silent dark. As the three scouts penetrated the designated sector, their sensors registered a ruin of crystalline spirosum shattered, others cracked by unseen forces and tangled arrays of spent energy conduits. Blood-red arcs of bioenergetic radiation scoured the crystal surfaces like living veins. Elena Cruz's voice crackled over the comm. "We've arrived. Council, decide quickly. Is this a relief missioner? A doorway to our doom?" Back in the Great Hall, Harper held his breath. Seraphine murmured, "If they don't respond at once, we risk losing contact entirely." Suddenly, the central hologram flared to life. The Ravager's biological countercode erupted in a guttural growl. As if a savage beast barked across the void, the distress plea had become a death knell. "Come and witness your annihilation." High Shepherd Harper's grip tightened on his crystal staff. "They seek to draw us close for slaughter, yet we will not cower. The Light Council refuses to stand idly by." He turned to Seraphine and Cruz, eyes alight with unshakable determination. "Prepare every resource. And may whoever hears this answer our call. We come to fight and to survive." At that moment, across the Milky Way, Earth's Vanguard 5 also detected the sinister signal converging on its energy focal point. Its crew stared down the viewport, resolve etched onto every face. History's turning point had arrived. The cry of an ancient civilization would soon reveal its true purpose, and humanity's response would herald either triumph or tragedy. Watchdog 7 and the Strange Map. Watchdog 7 floated at the furthest frontier of the solar system, where Earth was nothing more than a twinkling speck through its long-range telescope. The outpost was hollowed deep within a deserted asteroid, its bulkheads grafted to quantum communication arrays by colossal silicon crystal antennae. Every system aboard the station was built to withstand brutal radiation, the vacuum's crushing cold, and temperatures just above absolute zero. In the central control chamber, Lieutenant Marcus Blake, his fingers still smudged with data ink from the morning's reports, barely had time to flick stray silicon shards off his console before the Light Council's distress signal appeared on his screens. He blinked, toggling between feed overlays and the 3-week-long surveillance logs. This wasn't any known biological spectrum or Alliance protocol. It was a fusion of quantum pulse trains embedding a titanic heartbeat pattern, if you wanted to pulse trains, woven with plasma frequencies and microwave bursts, a hybrid message of both tech and flesh. As Blake muttered under his breath, the command "lock and identify" crackled over the internal intercom. The station's AI instantly parsed the Crimson sequence and assigned it the provisional designation, Light Code. On the panoramic display at the room's center, a 3D grid of the surrounding space spun, then zoomed violently into a single sector where a tiny red blip was expanding. Marcus's fingers danced across the console as he isolated the coordinates, reading aloud, 1.2 billion kilometers from Earth, inclined 27 degrees to the ecliptic plane, between the Helion and Mentor nebulae. Every engineer in the chamber lifted their gaze, a mix of awe and apprehension in their eyes. The control room AI spoke again. "Lieutenant, compare these coordinates against the Cosmic Terrain database. Confirm whether this corresponds with the crystalline world previously surveyed." Blake nodded, and his team piped the coordinates into the geophysical simulation module. Simultaneously, the latest satellite imagery from Progue 9 materialized on the screen-fractured crystalline towers, collapsed energy conduits, and the remnants of bioluminescent spires. Marcus's eyes widened as he overlaid the Watchdog 7 coordinates atop that image. "It's not a new site," he announced into his mic. "It matches the Light Council's first crystal call in your initial discovery point." A collective intake of breath echoed around the room. Colonel Cord Simmons, the station's information officer, leaned forward, voice low. "They're calling for help again. It's their own cycle. According to ancient logs, that same signal had first rung out 10 millennia ago, when the Ravagers annihilated multiple civilizations. Now, the Scarlet Beacon had returned. Simultaneously, Blake initiated a cross-check of historical logs. Every occurrence of the light code had been met by a mysterious counter-response bursts of micro-laser pulses emitted from hidden emitters beneath the crystal shards. He frowned. Could the Ravagers have reactivated that beacon to lure prey back and then strike? At that instant, an ancillary scan swept across the map's surface data, revealing a dark zone buried beneath the crystalline Ruinsa labyrinth of overlapping energy strata, like a quantum maze. Marcus reached out to the hollow display, tracing its contours. Something's hiding down there. The 3D grid reversed, unveiling the outline of a subterranean complex intact, yet entwined with organic detritus. Biofilaments wove through crystal conduits, forming a living network of power veins. Had these predators been lying in wait all along, or merely preparing for our arrival? A sudden chill descended on the control room. Blake turned to his crew, voice tense. This is the site we scouted before. We detected faint movement, but never confirmed life. If we send a Vanguard fleet in first, they'll be walking straight into a death trap. At the tactical console, Major Elena Liu tapped out a contingency plan. We deploy unmanned drone spearheads initially, she proposed. They can map the organic layers beneath the crystal without risking lives. If the area is clear, we then forward our Vanguard battle group. Blake considered this and gave a curt nod. Just then, the communications uplink with Rocky Mountain Command flashed to life. Admiral Carter and General Reed's holograms appeared. Carter's steely gaze fixed on Blake. Marcus? Status? Blake took a measured breath. Sir, the coordinates precisely match the Light Council's earliest outpost. Beneath it lies a massive organic infrastructure. I recommend we dispatch drone spearheads first, preserve human life. Reed's stern face flickered with impatience. Time is critical. The Light Council is awaiting rescue. We can't hesitate. Admiral Carter, authorize a small Vanguard detachment of elite troops for a swift strike and extract. Carter hesitated, concern etching his features. Yes, ma'am. Vanguard 3 is primed, but insertion risks are extremely high. General Reed met the viewer's gaze squarely, voice unwavering. We have no alternative. Stop the Ravagers from fully awakening. Marcus, prepare Vanguard deployment plans immediately. With that, the channel went dark. Blake exhaled heavily, turning back to his officers. Earth Command has spoken. Vanguard 3 will deploy first. Prep life, support modules, and troop manifests. Let's hope this distress call isn't a death knell. On the main holoscreen, the 3D map rotated slowly, exposing every corridor of the crystal organic complex. The red beacon blinked in the depths, beckoning and warning all who dared venture inside. Every member of Watchdog 7 knew that each next move would shape not just the fate of the Light Council, but the very future of humanity. The Council beneath the Rockies. Deep within the Rocky Mountains, buried beneath North America's most formidable Granite Earth Defense Alliance, maintained a secret command bunker. A former military technical academy had been reinforced into an impregnable council chamber. Steel, reinforced walls, double-locked blast doors, ballistic shielding, and signal scrambling systems. Cold fluorescent light filtered through narrow slits, illuminating the weary yet focused faces of the planet's highest authorities. At the center, Admiral John Jack Carter stood before the holographic command table, its pale blue glow projecting a slowly rotating map of nearby space. To Carter's left, General Alexis Reed rested her hand on the flickering crystal icon, eyes never leaving the display. Around the table sat Lieutenant General Oliver Hayes, Naval Operations Chief, Major General Mia Chen, Head of Bioengineering, and Minister of Internal Affairs Helena Park, who scrutinized every data line with cautious concern. Carter pressed a control, zooming the map into the critical sector. The signal originates from coordinates 1.2 billion kilometers beyond our orbit, he began in a measured tone. Watchdog 7 and our network have confirmed it matches the Light Council's first crystal colony. He turned to Reed. Alexis, what's your assessment? Reed shook her head, gravity in her gaze. We planned for a standard distress scenario, hoped for an allied response, but this signal embeds a biological heartbeat within plasma pulses. It's not just a plea for help, it's a provocation. She pointed to the holo map. If it's a lure, we'll be rushing straight into an ambush. Immediate engagement is almost certain. Major General Chen added thoughtfully, our drone spearhead units can sweep the organic structure, gather detailed readings of the Ravager's regenerative systems. But they can't provide on-the-spot support if met with heavy fire. Vanguard 3, by contrast, can deliver rapid direct assistance. Minister Park folded her hands, anxiety creasing her features. The United States and its allies have avoided distant conflicts due to excessive risk. If Vanguard 3 is struck before understanding the battlefield, we stand to lose an elite naval detachment. Carter steepled his fingers, determination shining in his eyes. Risk is inherent, but if we delay for full drone scans, the Light Council could be annihilated within hours. We cannot abandon them. He tapped the console, bringing up a side-by-side comparison. Drone spearhead sweep versus Vanguard 3 strike. Reed met his gaze, voice firm. Jack, choosing Vanguard 3 means trusting their capability. They number 30 Space Marines, equipped with advanced arms, but high gravity and zero-G environments work against them. She reviewed the roster. Yet we have trained them for extreme stress operations. Lieutenant General Hayes intervened. Worst case, the Ravagers deploy bio-radiation defenses. Drones can't fully characterize those hazards. Vanguard carries biofilters and adaptive shields to respond instantly. He glanced at Chen. Mia, has Vanguard 3's filtration been tested against organic crystal samples? Chen nodded. Simulations passed. Their resonant frequency radiation emitters can incapacitate Ravager regenerative tissues at close range. But we need a ground team to activate the modules. Without Vanguard boots on the ground, the drones will only return raw Datana 1 to deploy the rescue protocols. Silence settled as everyone absorbed the stakes. Carter studied the enlarged holo image of the crystal organic complex, its vast subterranean structures half buried beneath fractured quartz. There is no fallback, he declared. I propose we launch Vanguard 3 alongside drone spearhead support. The strike team and drones will operate in tandem, scanning and ready to engage. Reed allowed a relieved nod. That combined approach is optimal. Vanguard opens the way. Drones supply real-time intel. I support it. Carter keyed his mic. All council members, please vote. Every delegate except Minister Park raised their hands in agreement. Park bit her lip, then hesitantly nodded. Carter confirmed the tally and issued the command. Vanguard 3 and drone spearhead prepare for launch. The Light Council waits our aid. As the announcement echoed through the steel chamber and the blast doors sealed, the cold lights flickered across hardened faces. In that rock-walled sanctuary, humanity's fate was set, deploying not only its greatest minds but its steeliest resolve to rescue allies on the brink of extinction. A historic decision. The moment Admiral John Jack Carter issued the launch order for Vanguard 3 and the drone spearhead units, the subterranean council chamber beneath the Rockies fell into a charged silence. The holographic star map flickered and contracted, zooming in on the crystalline coordinates. General Alexis Reed's calm voice broke the hush. The council has approved the combined support Plan 8 in favor, 1 dissenting. Even Minister Helena Park, her face still lined with worry, nodded in reluctant agreement. For an instant, only the hiss of pneumatic valves echoed through the pressure-regulated conduits. Carter stood unwavering at the command console, tapping a 3-strike code to confirm execution. Proceed. Twin blast. Door locks disengaged automatically. Hydraulics bending thick steel panels aside and revealing a corridor bathed in pale blue light. Far below the ocean's surface, a vast hangar nestled into the mountain's underwater flanks sprang to life, its floodlights flickering on. Here, 50 Vanguard-class Dawn warships, each over 200 meters long, hulls coated in high-strength composite armor, glided up their launch rails. Technicians in protective suits affixed insignia plates to each vessel's bow as voiceover speakers intoned, Dawn 1, Dawn 2, through to Dawn 50 main engines online. Aboard Dawn 1, Admiral Carter stood beside Ambassador Daniel Pierce on the reinforced observation deck. Through the thick viewport, they watched the fleet form a sweeping crescent. Pierce exhaled slowly, warmth in his tone. "Jack, we're forging a new chapter for humanity. This is more than a relief mission, it's a testament to our will to survive." Carter offered a slight nod, eyes sweeping across the tensely determined faces of the Marines preparing below. In the adjacent operations bay, Colonel Jack Hunter marshaled the Space Marine contingents. He scanned his roster. Teams Alpha, Bravo, Charlie 60 Marines each, plus 120 amphibious infantry aboard each Hydra-class transport. Clad in radiation, filter suits fitted with biocontainment modules and gripping electrostatic rifles, the troops exchanged firm fist bumps before stepping into the launch locks. Nearby, Dr. Riley Wells and her engineering team fine-tuned the special frequency radiation modules. They mounted crystalline emitters onto the main weapon arrays and verified power flow stability. Frequency set to 9.3 terahertz, Wells called out. Output calibrated to disrupt Ravager organic armor regeneration. Confirm? Heads nodded, hope shining in their eyes. At last, the compact drone spearhead sleek, agile drone slid down their launch tracks and deployed automatically. Their AI cores engaged 360 degrees multispectral scanning. Occasionally, they detected anomalous reflections off the organic crystal matrix. Each data packet was immediately beamed back to the control center, where warning chimes marked new intelligence. The ship-wide intercom crackled. "All units, prepare final readiness reports." Carter lifted his microphone, voice resonating through every deck. "This is Admiral Carter. You know the mission and the risks. We will not abandon the Light Council. We must arrive at the coordinates within 72 hours. Execute with urgency, precision, and unity. Good luck." His words prompted a chorus of determined acknowledgments throughout the fleet. The hum of antimatter reactors rose in pitch as power fed into the jump coils. Blue corona glowed around each reactor mount, plasma arcs dancing like man-made stars. Sensors buzzed. The launch platform shuddered. It was time to go FTL. Carter activated the jump drive interface and steadied his hand on the helm's control wheel. Engage jump sequence. In an instant, a blinding rift tore open before the Vanguard 3 fleet, and the drone spearhead saw an explosion of white light that swallowed sound and gravity alike. For a heartbeat, time itself seemed suspended as the entire armada vanished from its launch pads, leaving only ripples across the ocean's surface to mark their departure. Out in the void, Vanguard 3 and the drones vaulted toward the distant crystalline glow. Each ship bore the hopes of two civilizations, humanity and the beleaguered Light Council, about to converge in the most brutal test of survival. As they streaked into hyperspace, every officer, engineer, and marine grasped the weight of history upon their shoulders. One misstep could spell the end. Success meant forging an alliance that would echo across the galaxy for millennia. Launch among the stars. A blinding white tide of light flooded the launch bay as Vanguard 3 activated its FTL jump drive. Aboard the flagship Dawn 1, Admiral John Carter felt the fabric of space stretching around him, as if his very body were being pulled taut between two kaleidoscopic mirrors. Brilliant streaks of cerulean plasma raced along the hull, flashing in silvery arcs, the unmistakable signature of antimatter technology in full operation. One by one, the 50 Vanguard vessels plunged through the shimmering veil, like a school of cosmic fish tearing through a wall of light, leaving behind the absolute silence of the underwater launch facility. When the radiance finally subsided, Dawn 1 and the rest of the fleet regrouped in their new frontier, a hushed, starless void, dust-free, and bathed in the gentle glow of distant blue suns. Carter keyed his comm mic. All units, report status post, jump. On the open channel, Captain Mara Thunderbolt replied crisply, Dawn 1, Admiral 50 Vanguard ships and 20 drone spearheads have exited jump space. System stable, main engines at 100%. A single chime sounded green on every console, confirming zero structural damage. On Dawn 1's main deck, Ambassador Daniel Pierce stood beside Carter, surveying the tightly formed column of ships stretching into the void. He allowed himself a wry smile. Humanity's grand debut in the Milky Way, he murmured, and we appear bearing a spearhead of technology. Carter returned the smile in kind. Maintain discipline. We're in the uncharted void. Now no waypoints, no gravity, just us and destiny. He turned to the tactical array, readying the ship's first transmission. Broadcast first contact, he ordered. On the quantum comm matrix, bold white text crystallized across every channel. Humanity first contact. This is Vanguard, 3 and flagship Dawn, one of the Earth Defense Alliance. We have received the Light Council's distress signal and are en route to render aid. Insertion scheduled within 12 hours. Please hold position and prepare to coordinate. The announcement rippled through the emptiness. Moments later, a response flickered in from the drone spearhead translation module, a chorus of bioluminescent glyphs lighting up the communications board. High Speaker Orion Harper's message glowed in living light. We await you. Crystal beacons flicker, guidance light failing. Hurry. Pierce exhaled, relief washing over him. They know we're coming, and they still call for help. Meanwhile, on the Marine's deck, Vanguard 3's troops gathered in formation, hands over hearts in a silent salute before their gravity adaptation drills. Lieutenant Elena Cruz moved among the squads, tweaking their auto-pressure regulators. We'll be inserting onto a 0.8 G world, she reminded Colonel Jackson Hunter. I've recalibrated the thruster modules to compensate. Hunter offered a tight nod, his gaze locked on the starlit void beyond the viewport. Stay ready, they're counting on us. Below them, the drone spearheads hummed to life. Small and nimble, they darted ahead to lock onto the crystalline beacon's fading emissions. Data streamed back. The Light Council's crystal spires had gone dark, their surrounding atmosphere shrouded in a spectral haze of quantum interference patterns attributed to Ravager activity. Dr. Riley Wells, monitoring from the engineering station, reported urgently. Sensors indicate interference gradients skewing toward the signal source. We must deploy anti-jamming shields before opening the airlocks. Carter absorbed the update, his expression hardening. Raise interference barriers to maximum. Activate dual encrypted nav beacons to mask our approach from Ravager sensors. Technicians flashed their consoles, and pale blue codes cascaded across the deck's readouts. From the jump exit point to the rescue coordinates lay only hours of travel. In every heart aboard, anticipation and adrenaline intertwined. These were no longer mere explorers, they were saviors. As Vanguard 3 and its drone spearheads pressed deeper into the starless gulf, they carried not only cutting-edge technology, but the hopes of 2 civilizations on the brink. Ahead lay the crystal world of the Light Council and the ultimate test of courage, unity, and resolve. However this mission ended, its story would echo across the cosmos for generations to come. Approaching the crystal world, the blinding white light abruptly faded, giving way to the vast darkness of space beyond the Helion Nebula. Vanguard 3 and the drone spearheads appeared like 50 artificial stars arrayed in a graceful arc. Before them lay the Light Council's crystal planet. Its pale violet atmosphere shimmered with optical brilliance, rippling bands of luminescence drifting through layered strata of crystalline lichen to create an otherworldly vista. Admiral Carter keyed his comm mic. All ships, confirm spatial stabilization. Prepare to receive satellite imagery. Instantly, each Vanguard vessel activated its multispectral sensor scanning from infrared to hard X-ray and began streaming vast data packets back to Dawn 1's analysis core. A hush fell across the fleet as every bridge monitored the incoming feed. On the main viewer, high-resolution shots from 200,000 kilometers above the surface unfolded, towering crystal spires rising from the ground, interwoven with tens of kilometers of optical conduits that caught the glow of the three setting suns. Transparent edifices stood like sculptures, their molecular density dynamically tuned to channel biological energy. Ambassador Pierce narrowed his eyes, murmuring in awe. I've never seen technology and artistry so perfectly intertwined. With a swipe of his gloved finger, he tagged zones of interest, the brightest signal hotspots where the distress beacon was strongest. Meanwhile, Dr. Riley Wells pored over the drone spearhead's real-time scans on Dawn 1. The scout drones darted ahead toward the planned drop zone, reporting, "Quantum optical interference from the Ravagers is destabilizing the crystal fields. Recommend upping micro-laser filter sensitivity to eliminate noise." Wells nodded thoughtfully as she tweaked their sensor parameters, then announced, "Parameters adjusted. We can now visualize the organic architecture hidden beneath the crystal panels, layer by layer." High-definition renderings revealed living conduits of biotissue coursing through the quartz, an intricate labyrinth of energy veins and regenerative matrices. Beyond the external grandeur, the crystalline world's interior boasted an elegant transit network. On a side monitor, small transparent craft glided through the still air like schools of fish swimming in frozen water. These vessels lacked metallic hulls, they were entirely crystalline organic. Their interiors hosted streams of blue bioluminescence that flowed like living blood. Colonel Hunter watched intently. "Those are the patrol craft. 20 of them are now converging on our formation." Following Carter's orders, the comm panel opened a channel on the Lightbringer frequency. On a secondary display, High Speaker Orion Harper and Counselor Seraphine appeared in solemn projection. Harper, draped in his violet crystal mantle, spoke in hushed bioluminescent pulses that the Universal Translator rendered as, "Welcome, travelers. Maintain discipline and do not harm the crystals. The docking gates are open." His voice rang clear across every bridge. Admiral Carter replied steadily, "This is Vanguard, 3 and Flagship Dawn 1. We come to protect and preserve. Request docking instructions." A flicker of hope and a trace of apprehension spread through the fleet as they awaited their fate. Above each Vanguard, the drone spearheads continued their protective sweep, sending focused beams to chart optimal descent corridors. The warships reconfigured their formations and prepped for final approach. Retractable grav thruster vanes rotated into landing position, deploying gravity modulation arrays that would safeguard troops stepping onto the slick crystal surface. On Dawn 1's deck, Carter issued crisp commands. Landing pattern: Group A on the main foredeck, Group B on the wings, Group C held in reserve as tactical cover. A hush of anticipation pervaded the command decks as the advanced vessels bore down on the violet haze. The three suns' light fractured through the crystal canopy like a net of prismatic brilliance. The landing alarm sounded across the internal comm loops. Humanity's first footsteps on a crystal world in over 10 millennia were imminent. Carter murmured through his mic, "Minutes to impact, stand by." As the leading ships closed to 500 meters, environmental sensors blared warnings of a spike in organic radiation interference. The Ravagers were stirring. Carter's voice hardened. "All units, expedite landing. No delays. Hunter, your special forces will spearhead the touchdown. Move out." Under the flickering violet sky, Vanguard 3's elite Marines strapped on their crystallized radiation armor and advanced down the gangway, ready to carve a new chapter in galactic history.
The fateful encounter. Outside the crystal stronghold, the void trembled with each quantum pulse as the docking bay swung open to welcome Vanguard 3 and the flagship Dawn 1. Monolithic crystal doors glided smoothly to either side, revealing a corridor bathed in dazzling light, its vaults supported by towering crystalline pillars that rose like an ice forest. The prismatic surfaces reflected thousands of scintillating beams from the crystal-encased lamps overhead, weaving a mesmerizing tapestry of luminescence. Admiral John Jack Carter, Ambassador Daniel Pierce, and Dr. Riley Wells proceeded down the gangway, each footstep imprinting briefly on the seemingly fragile yet rock-solid crystal floor. Clad in their Vanguard 3 uniforms with polished silver nameplates, they could not conceal their awe at the hall's radiant splendor. Pierce exhaled softly as their boots rang on the crystalline tiles. "Jack," he whispered, "I never imagined I'd set foot on a world that feels like a fairy tale." Ahead of them, High Speaker Orion Harper appeared encircled by a wreath of bioluminescent light. His robes of pale violet crystal swirled around him like living energy. At his side stood Elena Cruz, her face steeled with vigilance and her crystal staff held firmly. The two leaders advanced together, their smiles the first gestures of goodwill between their peoples. Harper raised a hand in greeting, his voice carried through the Universal Translation module. "Admiral Carter, Ambassador Pierce, we welcome you with open hearts. Please, join us in the Crystal Hall." Though warm, the invitation seized the moment in a tension of unfamiliar Gravity 2 strangers, meeting on neutral ground, hope, and gravity mingling in their very first steps. Carter inclined his head respectfully. "Thank you, High Speaker. We come in peace, determined to protect." The Vanguard 3 delegation moved forward. The corridor's artificial gravity smoothly accommodated human physiology, and crystal-integrated floor plates under their boots automatically adjusted to prevent slips on the polished surface. Dr. Wells leaned close to Carter, murmuring, "The sight is breathtaking, but interference levels remain dangerously high outside." Cruz nodded, eyes scanning the intricate crystal latticework on the walls for any anomalies. They rounded a bend and entered the crystal hall, prepare a vast chamber capped by an interlaced ceiling of crystalline filaments and paved with hexagonal tiles that shimmered in pale violet. The Light Council awaited them. Counselor Seraphine sat on the far bench, her gaze veiled by a thin crystal mask as she quietly watched every movement. Her lips curved in an inscrutable smile, as if harboring her own hidden agenda. Harper guided the guests to the center of the hall, where 3 ornate armchairs awaited. He gestured for Carter and Pierce to sit, while Cruz remained standing by his side, ready to interpret or respond. A hush fell. The only sound was the occasional drip from the crystal air conditioning network. After a contemplative pause, Harper spoke, "We recognize the great distances you have crossed to reach us. Tell Uzair you prepared to share your antimatter technology and radiation modules so we may combine forces against the Ravagers?" Carter exchanged a look with Pierce before replying, "High Speaker, Vanguard 3 carries advanced interference filters and specialized frequency radiation emitters. We stand ready to cooperate, but we require a clear understanding of protocols and joint strategy both on the surface and in orbit." Harper inclined his head as crystalline light pulsed in accord with his words. "Our only condition is respect for the crystal environment and the subterranean bio-network. We will supply you with our energy maps and module access points. In turn, Elena Cruz and your special forces will be trained in the sacred protocols of crystal contact." At that moment, Seraphine rose and stepped forward, her tone soft yet razor-sharp. Humanity and the Light Council have never fully harmonized technology with living crystal. We must safeguard the integrity of the crystal habitats and protect our people, while ensuring the Ravagers cannot exploit any vulnerabilities. She activated a nearby hologram, a topographical chart of legendary biopreserve zones, indicating areas where any disturbance could trigger a catastrophic collapse of the energy matrix. Pierce rose, sincerity in his voice. "Counselor Seraphine, we pledge to adhere strictly to your guidelines. We will employ radiation modules only when Ravager forces threaten directly. We honor the delicate balance between your world's crystal life and our technological aid." A moment of silence followed as the hall's glow dimmed, as though awaiting final assent. Then Harper smiled and raised his crystal staff, tracing a living biocircuit in the air, the ancient rite of crystal bonding to seal their alliance. A soft wave of cerulean light washed over Carter and Cruz, washing across their armor and synchronizing with the radiation modules. Its warmth shattered the initial chill between the two sides. Even Seraphine offered a subtle nod, her faith restored. Carter rose and addressed the assembly with conviction. From this instant forward, humanity and the Light Council stand united. Together, we shall not only preserve the crystal realms, but vanquish the Ravagers once and for all. A chorus of crystalline applause rang through the hall, refracting in a dazzling dance of light. In that moment, a fateful encounter transformed into an unbreakable alliance song that would reshape the galaxy's destiny. Biological armor and tactics. As the rite of crystal bonding concluded, a squadron of small, transparent landing vessels each, equipped with deployment modules and organic launch tubes, glided silently through the Grand Hall's exit. They were the Vanguard 3 Marine detachments, led by Colonel Jackson Jack Hunter. Clad in cutting-edge crystalline biological exosuits, a hybrid fusion of man-made alloys, and the Light Council's unique cellular crystal structure, each soldier harnessed embedded micro-energy crystals that auto-tune their nanostructure to absorb Ravager bioradiation while reflecting chemical energy strikes. Hunter ordered the fire teams to hold at 20 meters above the crystal surface, where gravitational fields were calibrated to 0.8 G. Peering through his integrated optical microscope, he examined the infinitesimal crystalline cell layers weaving through the suit's biomechanical matrix, each pulsing in time with the planet's ambient energy. Team A, under Lieutenant Elena Cruz's command, advanced first to test their close-range munitions and handheld plasma disruptors aimed at fracturing the crystal cells. Their goal was to create breach points through which the suit's radiation modules could penetrate. The results became clear within seconds. The crystal cells proved astonishingly resilient, rapidly regenerating and sealing any fissure in mere moments. Cruz radioed back. "Colonel, the biological armor is stable. The special frequency radiation emitter suppresses about 60% of the crystal's regenerative capacity, but we need additional reinforcement around joint sections, where cell proliferation is most robust." Hunter nodded. "Good. Maintain continuous frequency sweeps. Teams B and C stand by to engage once Ravager hostiles appear." Team B, armed with dual plasma accelerators, prepared their link-sever tactic, targeting the crystal's optical energy conduits to disrupt the bio-network connections between the spires and force the Ravagers to reveal the location of their hive vessels. Major Marcus Blake, Team B's commander, calibrated his shots through thermal optics, identifying weak junction nodes for long-range fire on the holomap of the Crystal Bastion. Their plan was to strike the primary nexus node, catching the enemy by surprise. Team C, specializing in close-quarters module deployment, carried compact war drones designed for subsurface infiltration. These drones would slip into crevices of shattered crystal debris, lying dormant until triggering powerful pulse detonations to weaken surface layers, enabling Vanguard Marines easier access. Against nearby targets' organic crystal patrol craft or stranded Ravagersthys, drones would emit hypnotic infrared signals, luring foes away before swift neutralization. All three teams moved in concert. Team B's plasma volleys splintered energy conduits as Team C released drones into newly formed crevices, and Team A repositioned to deliver targeted radiation bursts. This synchronized assault lasted less than 3 minutes, an astonishingly rapid engagement for such an alien battlefield. On Dawn 1, Dr. Riley Wells monitored the tactical display and continuously fine-tuned the emission frequencies to match real-time feedback. Above, the Vanguard 3 orbital fleet deployed its smaller combat vessels in a radiant storm, formation-coordinated laser arrays piercing the crystal atmosphere to carve temporary windows for the landing teams. As high-intensity beams drilled through the translucent shell, microscopic crystal shards scattered outward, triggering cascading quantum pulses. This was the mission's most perilous moment. If incorrectly timed, the shockwaves could collapse the entire crystal facade. Lieutenant Cruz's voice crackled over the comm. "All units, prepare for impact. Team A, advance. Team B, initiate link sever. Drones are live." Suddenly, a deep tremor rippled through the crystal field around them. Cruz's command flickered. "Ravagers are counterattacking. Switch to defensive posture." Massive crystal pillars around the battlefield flared as Ravager bioradiation surged, enveloping the combat zone in a crimson haze. Hunters of organic energy creatures born of the crystal swarm, the shattered corridors. Hunter remained composed. "Activate bioshielding. Initiate secondary radiation bursts on override." Instantly, the Marines' exosuits dropped to low thermal mode, engaging plasma filters to repel the redshift wave. The priority was to maintain a safe standoff from the primary crystal columns, while tracking the regeneration patterns of the organic armor. Each Vanguard 3 Marine now posed a genuine threat to the living crystal infrastructure. Back on Dawn 1's command deck, Dr. Wells allowed herself a slight smile as she saw the crystal regeneration index plummet below 40%. She reported, regenerative feedback reduced by 75% at the primary plasma strike zones. Team A has created temporary biological breaches. We can escalate the assault. Admiral Carter's voice immediately followed. All orbital vessels, synchronize radiation frequencies. Execute the photon pulse barrage lock, the Ravager bionodes, for 15 minutes. At his command, the Vanguard fleet unleashed a torrent of high-intensity pulses, weaving white-hot flashes with infrared harmonics. The combined onslaught from Teams A, B, C, and the orbiting fleet battered the crystal wall until it began to fracture, revealing the vast organic core heart of the Ravager stronghold. This was the ultimate objective, to strike the living nexus and shatter its regenerative capacity once and for all. As the chasm widened, Team C's drones rushed in, depositing biological charges into the exposed energy veins. Hunter shouted, "Plant the charges, fall back!" A series of anomalous detonations rocked the crystal surface, warping the underlying organic structure. A roar of fury erupted from the Ravagers, their alien shriek echoing through the fractured corridors. In that moment of cataclysmic upheaval, Vanguard 3 seized its final opportunity to obliterate the biological crystal heart before the Ravagers could mount a new defense. Hunter tightened his grip on his rifle, eyes blazing at the explosive glow ahead, and commanded in a cold, resolute tone, "Give me the killing shot."
The night erupts. As the crystal pillars on the surface were blasted wide into breachways, proof that the Ravager's regenerative capacity had been severely diminished, Vanguard 3's orbital fleet immediately shifted from standby to full combat. Readiness. Aboard the flagship Dawn 1, Admiral John Jack Carter monitored the tactical display. Dozens of Vanguard warships fanned out into 3 assault wings, supported by 5 heavy plasma turret ships and 3 drone spearheads loitering in low orbit. The void around the crystal colony glowed ominously with the red flare of awakening Ravager bioenergy. Suddenly, a colossal organic energy spire detonated to the north, unleashing a cascading wave of bioradiation. Sensors screamed, "Ravagers firing! Radiation spike at 1,200 gamma." Lieutenant Elena Cruz sprang into action, activating the bioshield network and coating the hull of Vanguard 7 in a layer of crystalline nanomesh. She shouted over the net, "All ships, evasive maneuver pivot outboard, go to high mobility posture." The squads throttled secondary thrusters, banking their reinforced decks away from the barrage of organic beams that could shred any conventional hull. Moments later, Carter issued a decisive order. All vessels, target acquired organic armor clusters, priority strike on fractured tissue. Q frequency, 9.3 terahertz radiation volleys. Dr. Riley Wells, tracking the Ravager's recovery index, noted it had fallen below 30%. She tweaked the secondary radiation waveform, unleashing a breaker burst strong enough to stymie any rapid healing. Simultaneously, plasma turrets and massed laser batteries converged on the remaining organic armor plates, pulverizing the crystalline biomesh. In an instant, the starless void ignited like an artificial dawn as Vanguard ships unleashed pinpoint volleys. The precision strikes resonated through the broken armor, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. Drone spearheads then dived in, ejecting nanocharge warheads that irreversibly severed cellular bonds. Fragments of organic Ravager vessel sleek, obsidian black form sprayed across the sky, collapsing before the Earth Marine's eyes. Yet the Ravagers retaliated with ferocity. From the distance, a vast Ravager armadillo to hull closed in, threatening to envelop Vanguard 3 in a deadly pincer. On one ledger of the shifting battlefield, Lieutenant Cruz received a chilling report. Vanguard 12 is offline. likely hit by an overload pulse screw. Neural systems are compromised. She immediately rerouted the emission modules to a lower safe bandwidth, allowing the crystalline shield network to reboot. Several stragglers dropped out of formation, leaving dangerous gaps in the defensive line. Colonel Hunter, commanding the forward battle group, barked, "Team A, concentrate fire on that breach. Don't let them exploit our gap." Tension spiked as the Ravager's Queen, a moon-sized command vessel, emerged from behind a shattered asteroid outcrop. The flagship eclipsed all sensors, generating a wave of quantum turbulence that swept across the Vanguard flotilla. Crimson bioradiation flooded the decks like an enraged beast roaring in the void. Carter's knuckles whitened on the helm. "This is our moment. Deploy our secret weapon," he ordered. All emission arrays switched to secondary resonance mode. Raise bioshield strength to 120%, synchronized with the plasma turrets on the capital ships. At once, Wells reconfigured her emitters. She ramped the primary 9.3 terahertz frequency up to 9.7 terahertz, then overlaid a 1.2 GHz sideband to generate a disruptive biowave resonance. 3 leading plasma frigates unleashed golden-white laser columns that carved through the Queen's hardened organic armor like a blade through silk. Blinding flares filled the void as each laser strike hammered the regenerative nodes. The Queen's hull buckled under the chaotic radiation assault, its movement jerking violently. Then, in a shocking silence, it halted. On every bridge, crews held their breath, witnessing the Ravager flagship broken and unable to heal. But in the instant of stillness, a small Ravager detachment infiltrated Vanguard 3's second line through the prior gap. A handful of boarding skiffs struck from behind, catching several support ships off guard. The formation fractured as the invaders clawed into vulnerable hull sections. Cruz's voice cut through the alarms. "All hands, brace yourselves. Team B, secure the right flank. No incursions past our line." Immediately, the warships reformed, returning concentrated fire to eject the intruders. In the night-lit chaos of laser storms and radiation arcs, humanity's blend of discipline and cutting-edge tech proved unstoppable. The majority of the Ravager fleet, from escort shredders to support tendersleigh, shattered and drifting. As the quantum haze subsided, the initial victory belonged to Vanguard 3 and the Dawn 1. Admiral Carter stared into the dark ocean of stars, voice low yet resolute. "We've broken their line, but the war isn't over. The night has erupted, and the true battle lies ahead." Landing in the Hunter's Trap. Exactly 30 minutes after the crystalline wall had been breached, artificial gravity was dialed down to 0.8 G, and the Thunderbird landing bay doors slid open. Under Colonel Jack Hunter's command, Vanguard 3's 120 Space Marines stepped through the crystal archway, each footfall marking their arrival on the planet's violet shimmering surface. Their hybrid crystalline biological armor had been fine-tuned to prevent slipping on the smooth floor while scrubbing away residual Ravager bioradiation. The thump of their boots echoed like war drums, activating the terrain scanners to sweep a 500-meter radius around the touchdown zone. Lieutenant Elena Cruz immediately deployed the crystal trap devices, small crystal beacons fitted with remotely controlled radiation emitters. These were scattered at strategic choke points where the Ravagers were expected to advance. Each beacon could fire short-duration plasma pulses, generating localized optical interference that would slow the enemy's initial advance. Cruz directed her squad to place traps around the biowave pillars, using the shattered crystal ruins as natural barriers. Once all traps were in position, she signaled, "Traps are live-await activation." Meanwhile, Hunter led Team C-3 close-quarter specialists through narrow fissures in the broken crystal terrain. He assigned each fire team to carry bioglove gauntlets, high-capacitance electrostatic weapons capable of delivering shock pulses that could tear through Ravager bioarmor at point-blank range. Hunter pointed toward a hidden underground access tunnel. "This corridor is narrow. We'll draw the Ravagers into the crystal trap ahead." When they arrive, Team C holds the line, Team B triggers the trap pulses, and Team A lays down crossfire with plasma rifles. With that, they slipped into ambush positions. In low orbit, the Vanguard 3 fleet prepared the Prismatic Storm orbital bombardment. Heavy plasma cruisers locked their targeting arrays on the landing zone. Captain Mara Thunderbolt reported, "Weapon batteries online awaiting ground signal to commence firing." Admiral Carter's voice crackled through the comm link. "Hunter, once you hear the trap activation, unleash synchronized prismatic strikes. Stand by." Within 5 minutes, ground sensors detected a sudden spike in biowave signatures beneath the landing bay, signaling the approach of small Ravager vanguards. Lieutenant Cruz nodded sharply. "First wave incoming." She tapped her remote detonator. Dozens of crystal beacons simultaneously discharged silent plasma pulse undetectable by sight, but registered on every radar sweep. The Ravager's bioshields flickered as their regenerative nano-network was momentarily disrupted, forcing them to hesitate. Instantly, orbital cruisers opened fire. Silver-blue plasma beams lanced through the crystal haze, raining down like meteor showers. Smaller organic vessels shattered into crystalline shards, though medium Ravager brooders pressed forward with fierce determination. Vanguard 3 troopers ignited their jet boosters, diving from above like sharpened spears into the startled Ravager ranks. Bioglove gauntlets sparked in their hands, unleashing shockwaves that shredded biocrystal flesh, eliciting alien screeches. Yet some Ravagers managed to close in, clawing at the Marines' armor in ferocious melee. Hunter remained calm. Team C, hold the front. Team A, enfilade fire. Team B, deploy smoke drones now. You have permission to detonate. Smoke drones launched from silence pods, spraying a thick biotic haze that scrambled crystal optics and forced the Ravagers to scatter. Small infrared decoy drones flitted among the enemy, luring them into pre-designated kill zones just as Hunter keyed his comm. "Carter, initiate linked radiance." In orbit, 3 plasma frigates unleashed sequential laser volleys, beaming through the smoky veil to strike the Ravagers' hidden hideouts. The concentrated beams acted like colossal hands, slicing through the crystalline organic labyrinth and severing the last energy conduits. Deprived of cohesion, the Ravager forces collapsed into disarray. On the ground, once the traps and smoke drones had done their work, Cruz called out, "All teams close in exterminate." Hunter ordered Team C to unleash maximum electrostatic pulses against any surviving Ravagers. CRP Grenada's crystal reactive payloads detonated with sharp crystalline cracks, flooding the area with microshards and concussive force. The Marines' victorious shouts echoed through the shattered spires. As the smoke cleared, only fragments of crystalline bio-hull lay strewn across the battlefield. The landing zone fell eerily silent, broken only by the soldiers' heavy breaths and the faint hum of environmental sensors. Lieutenant Cruz wiped sweat from her brow. "We've won the first engagement. As the legend said, the hunters have become the hunted." Hunter allowed himself a tired smile, though his eyes burned with determination. "We've broken through now, the real prize lies below. Prepare to press into the underground complex and finish off the Ravager core." With that, Vanguard 3's Marines rallied, steeling themselves for the final push into the heart of the ancient enemy stronghold. A new era across the galaxy. The last shreds of crystalline organic smoke cleared, revealing the entrance to the subterranean stronghold buried deep beneath the crystal surface. Vanguard 3, led by Colonel Jackson Jack Hunter, advanced in tight formation, each step carrying them deeper into the vast organic labyrinth. The gentle hum of their jet boosters beneath crystalline boots echoed the team's tense anticipation. Every Marine understood their final task: strike at the Crystal Heart the Ravager's hiveship flagship. Aboard the flagship Dawn 1, Admiral John Carter surveyed the battlefield via drone spearhead feeds. Plasma streaks and specialized frequency radiation had crippled the Ravager's regenerative abilities, yet the enemy's central core had not yet appeared. "Time grows short," he murmured. We must finish this before they fully recover. Dr. Riley Wells responded over the comm link. Central bio networks are suppressed by 95%, but the crystalline, organic Cortha control nexus remains fortified. She added, "We need a more powerful mixed frequency burst. I recommend deploying the deity pulse, the third harmonic resonance." Carter nodded. "Make it so. Wells, configure immediately." Below, Hunter received Carter's orders. "Mark the core location. The orbital fleet will unleash the deity pulse the moment we breach." Hunter relayed instructions to Team C. "Use the crystal grid map, prepare the breach." Vanguard 3 engineers deployed plasma drills like fire-breathing dragons across their holographic display, carving a precise aperture at the crystal core's center. Seconds felt like hours. As the drill bit contacted the crystalline organic console, the walls trembled violently. Team B rushed in to place the Philithium Resonatora hybrid crystal developed by Dr. Wells into the fissure. Aboard Dawn 1, the comm console crackled. "Deity Pulse is online." In orbit, 50 Vanguard warships powered up their red laser arrays, each beam brighter than a supernova. "Fire the pulse," Carter ordered. Lasers and mixed-frequency radiation intertwined into a three-dimensional energy wave that descended upon the crystalline organic core. At impact, a thunderous explosion rang out, illuminating the cavern in a blinding flash before plunging it back into darkness. Silence reigned as the killing blow rippled through the stronghold. The Ravager biocrystal structure, like fragile glass, shattered into 1,000 glittering petals drifting through the void. Regeneration arrays ceased functioning. The crystal heart collapsed, bringing the entire biosystem crashing down around it. From within the subterranean ruins, Vanguard 3 Marines erupted in triumphant cheers, embracing one another amid the debris of crystalline organic wreckage. Aboard Dawn 1, Admiral Carter gripped the helm, voice low but steady. "It is done. The ancient enemy is defeated." A smile touched his lips as mission control confirmed. "All ships report. Ravagers eliminated. No regenerative fragments remain." Moments later, Ambassador Daniel Pierce broadcast victory across the quantum network. "The Ravagers have been summoned and destroyed. The Humanity Lightbringer Alliance prevails. A new era across the galaxy begins." News of the triumph spread like wildfire, drawing dozens of distant civilizations to the crystal world. Merchant fleets, scientific consortia, and volunteer armadas converged, eager to celebrate and lend their aid. The Great Crystal Hall was restored in radiant splendor. Counselor Seraphine, her earlier doubts vanished, beamed with pride as Vanguard 3 and the Light Council clasped hands in unity. In the Crystal Plaza, thousands of grateful Light Council citizens gathered, their faces alight with hope and gratitude. Admiral Carter, Ambassador Pierce, and High Speaker Orion Harper ascended the crystalline dais together. A massive multi-hued crystal was presented to Cartera, symbol of peace and mutual trust. Harper intoned, "Today, we honor not only the power of technology and iron will, but the sacred duty to protect one another. Humanity and the Lightbringer STWO civilizations united, vanquishing darkness and ushering in a new era for the galaxy." The plaza thundered with cries of "V for victory" as Vanguard 3 returned the salute, hands raised in solidarity. A symphony of crystalline biological harmonies and Earth's plasma instruments rose in a triumphant chorus that echoed among the stars. In the days that followed, Dawn 1 and her fleet received invitations from allied worlds across the Milky Way to help clear Ravager remnants, stabilize crystalline organic ecosystems, and share antimatter technology for peaceful development. The alliance grew ever stronger. On the final night before departing the Crystal Planet, Carter stood on Dawn 1's observation deck, gazing at the lavender-hued horizon. Ambassador Pierce joined him, offering a congratulatory pat on the shoulder. "Jack, we did it. The new era awaits." Carter smiled, eyes glinting with resolve. This is only the beginning, Daniel. The galaxy is vaster than we imagined, and there is more light to spread. So began a new chapter from shattered crystal fields to the farthest star lanes. Humanity and the Lightbringers marched side by side into the dawn of a new galactic era, one forged in alliance, respect, and the shared promise to safeguard life across the cosmic expanse.